TVR White Elephant Prototype 1988. TVR boss Peter Wheeler built his one-off personal car to test engineering ideas. We drive the White Elephant, fresh from restoration after 23 years in hiding, on his favorite roads. The pheasants of Bowland are in turmoil. They scuttle into the roadside bracken as the strident bark between the hills grows closer. Word has got round, an old enemy, a portent of imminent death not seen in these parts for more than 2 decades, has been sighted in Shieldwood. And it's bearing down on them. The source of the noise, an ethereal, pearlescent white wedge, emerges from behind a nearby hillock and dives down into the valley, rasping and crackling on the down changes as the corners get tighter. Its slow nose, devoid of insignia, sniffs the snaking road like a bloodhound. Peter Wheeler's TVR White Elephant is back. But the pheasants have nothing to fear from me. The gun racks in the elephant's boot are empty, no canine lurks in the sculpted dog basket behind the passenger seat, and I'm too preoccupied with the challenge of the road and an experimental V8 in new race tune to go in search of game pie ingredients. But I am in the right place to drive the White Elephant. The car was built at Wheeler's behest in 1988, at a time when TVR wedges were reaching the limits of their development and new directions were being sought. For 18 months Wheeler used the car to commute between his home in Harrogate and TVR's Blackpool factory, selecting routes through the trough of Bowland that avoided heavy traffic. At the weekends, with Ned the dog in the passenger seat, he always rejected his specially made rear dog seat. Wheeler took the car shooting on the Duke of Lancaster's estate, the ancient, Tolkien-inspiring forest of Bowland. John Ravenscroft created the elephant's profile by grafting the nose of the unloved 420 Sports Saloon prototype to a Tasman Coup body shell. Driving this car is difficult, and it's got nothing to do with the road or the V8's power. It was only ever intended for 6 feet 6 inches Wheeler, so the position of the driver's seat, steering wheel and pedals are all fixed. At 6 feet 1 inch I'm having to drive with arms and legs outstretched, steering with my fingertips and pushing the pedals with my toes. The overall effect is like wearing a much bigger man's tailored jacket. I don't feel as though I belong in this car. That said, it's actually friendlier than I expected. My previous experience of wedge TVRs is limited to early Tasmans, but memories of knuckle-bruising gear shifts and steering as heavy as a night storage heater are banished here by a disarmingly light power rack. Its level of assistance is more akin to a luxury saloon's, not as detached and lacking in feel as you find in a Jaguar Rex J6, but certainly designed to disguise the weight of something much bigger and heavier. The elephant weighs just 1,300 kilograms and changes direction with startling speed. It's essentially front mid-engined. The V8 sits so far back in the chassis that little hatches are incorporated into the footwells to gain access to the rearmost spark plugs. There's no dive or nose bob, the car just grips the road hard on its 225/45 R16 tires and shifts position immediately, without threatening understeer or oversteer. Holden-based V8 has gained high lift cams, lightweight crankshaft and electronic fuel injection. What's even more surprising is that it does all this without the assistance of a rear anti-roll bar. One is fitted, but its linkages dangle dormant from the rear suspension assembly. Engineer Neil Anderson originally fitted it to the elephant's modified Tuscan Challenge Racer chassis, but when it was connected the result was near undrivable, the rear end too stiff for positive road holding, resulting in sudden, uncatchable oversteer. By disconnecting the anti-roll bar Anderson found perfect balance. This sense of carefully managed, trial-and-error refinement extends to the bodywork and its impressive attempts to suppress wind noise. Like the Ferrari F40 and Porsche 959, it sports the most hideous of features, flush-glazed headlights, which were rapidly replacing the 70s vogue for pop-ups. They're not as well integrated into the elephant's lines as a Tasman's, but they help to cut drag and endow the nose with a clean, NASA module profile reminiscent of a BMW Z1. The flush glazing obsession runs wild at the back. Tasman designer Oliver Winterbottom's concept of a Marcello Gandini-inspired reversing panel remains, a glass swathe across the high tail to aid visibility. but its black smoked like a sharp music center's graphic equalizer screen, and an identical strip below conceals the rear light clusters and an unfeasibly complex registration plate with its letters printed on a backlit transparent yellow honeycomb composite wafer. Both disappear from view in low light when the engine is switched off.